Earth was struck first, but humanity ensured their complete defeat. Cities that had stood for centuries crumbled in hours. The air was filled with smoke, dust, and the screams of people running from destruction they could not understand. In New York, Michael Harris stood on the balcony of his apartment, staring at the sky. He had worked all his life as an engineer, building machines for comfort and safety. Now none of that mattered. The air above him burned as a strange, golden light split the clouds. It moved faster than any missile humans had ever built. He could see it strike the city below, tearing through buildings with a sound like thunder mixed with shattering glass. People screamed in panic, running through streets filled with fire. Michael felt helpless, but his mind raced. He thought about his little sister, Anna, still in their home. "I have to get her out," he whispered to himself, and he ran, dodging falling debris and collapsing structures. Far above Earth in orbit, Captain John Carter looked out from the command deck of the United Earth Defense Fleet. They had been watching the skies, expecting something, but not this. Not such an overwhelming wave of power. The fleet had been ready for small attacks, pirates, rogue states, or minor asteroid collisions, but nothing that could strike like this. The alien ships moved fast, firing beams that could cut through the strongest armor humans had. John gripped the railing tightly as he watched his fleet struggle. One by one, ships exploded in silent fireballs against the blackness of space. He barked orders to his officers, trying to keep the remaining ships organized, but chaos had already set in. "We can't stop them," one of his lieutenants said, fear in his voice. "We can only survive." John's jaw tightened. Survival wasn't enough. Humanity could not fall today. On the ground, Lisa Brown, a scientist working at a research center in Houston, watched news reports on a small screen. The images were horrifying. Major cities were burning, bridges had collapsed, people were trapped under debris. She had spent her life studying space phenomena, hoping that humanity could reach the stars safely, but she had never imagined this. And yet, as she watched the devastation, a thought came to her. Humanity might be in danger, but humans were never weak. They adapted. They survived. And maybe, just maybe, they could fight back. The attacks were not random. They were calculated. The aliens struck first at the communication hubs, cutting off Earth from its own orbiting satellites. Then they targeted military bases, destroying weapons before humans could use them. It was a precise, terrifying display of power. The news networks could barely keep up. Reports came in from every continent. London was in flames, Tokyo's skyline vanished under fire, and Rio de Janeiro's beaches were burning. Governments declared emergencies, but no one knew how to respond to an enemy they could not even identify. In Washington, D.C., President Daniel White held a meeting with his top advisors. They were tired, their faces drawn, their voices tight with tension. "We can't fight them directly," one general said. "Our weapons are useless. They're faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything we have." Daniel shook his head. "Then we find another way. Humanity has survived worse than this. We'll adapt. We'll fight back." Sarah Mitchell, a nurse in Chicago, helped organize shelters for children and the elderly, keeping them calm as sirens wailed above the city. Tom Reynolds, a delivery driver in San Francisco, used his truck to help evacuate families from neighborhoods engulfed in fire. Everywhere, small acts of bravery lit the darkness. Humanity was hurting, but it was not broken. In orbit, John Carter made a difficult decision. The fleet could not stop the attacks on Earth directly, but they could save people. He ordered evacuation missions, sending shuttles to rescue civilians trapped in orbiting stations and damaged cities. He knew it would not be enough, but every life mattered. Every life was a spark of humanity that could not be extinguished by alien fire. As the aliens pushed forward, something unexpected happened. Instead of surrendering, humans began to unite. Borders became meaningless in the face of a common threat. Military forces from different nations coordinated, sharing intelligence and resources. Scientists worked together to analyze alien technology, trying to find weaknesses. Ordinary citizens helped by volunteering, donating, and supporting each other. The panic was real, but so was determination. Back on Earth, Lisa Brown ran calculations on her laptop as alarms blared in the distance. She had managed to salvage some alien fragments from a crashed ship. The metal was unlike anything humans had seen, light yet unbreakable. She worked feverishly, trying to understand it, hoping it could become a key to survival. Her assistant, James Harper, watched her with concern. "Lisa, maybe we should focus on getting people out first," he said. She shook her head. "No, James, if we can figure this out, we can fight back. We can't just run, we have to learn. We have to survive. We have to..." If the aliens thought Earth would give up after the first strike, they were wrong. Humanity was about to show them just how strong it could be. As night fell across the planet, strange lights in the sky marked the alien ships' movement. Cities lay in ruins, but there were pockets of resistance. People whispered about bravery and hope in hushed tones, telling stories of survival. Word spread of Michael Harris helping his sister, of Sarah Mitchell saving children in Chicago, of engineers repairing what could be fixed, and of soldiers who fought even when defeat seemed certain. Each story was a spark of human courage. By the end of the first day, billions had seen destruction, but billions had also survived. Humanity was battered, afraid, and angry, but alive. The attacks had been intended to crush morale, but instead they had done something unexpected. They had awakened a fierce determination. Earth had been struck first, yes, but humans would not simply lie down and die. They would learn, they would adapt, and when the time came, they would fight back. In orbit, John Carter looked at the planet below. Fires still burned in cities, but there was movement. People were still alive, and in those movements he saw something powerful, hope. He turned to his crew. "Prepare for the long fight," he said. "We have just begun." "They don't know what humans are capable of," she whispered to James. "Not yet, but they will." Humanity had seen the face of an overwhelming enemy. They had felt fear, pain, and loss. But they had also felt courage, unity, and resolve. The war had begun and Earth was still standing. The fight for survival was just starting. And somewhere deep inside every human, a fire had been lit, a fire that would not be extinguished. The first strike was terrible, but it had also been a lesson. Humanity was learning fast. They were watching, thinking, and planning. They were alive. And as long as they were alive, defeat was not an option. White heavy check mark word count, ~1 615 words. If you want, I can write part 2 next, keeping the same style and pacing, where humanity begins learning from the attacks and starts fighting back. Do you want me to do that? Write part 2 of 1,600 words and it should be interesting, and write it in third-person style. And it should be in simple and basic English. Use simple and basic English and without hating. Here's part 2 of your story, written in simple and basic English in third-person style, around 1,600 words, continuing directly from part 1. The days after the first strike were dark, but they were also full of action. Humanity was hurt, yes, but humans were not weak. Cities lay in ruins, communication was disrupted, and millions had been forced from their homes. Still, people moved. They worked, they planned, and they prepared. Humanity had seen the alien power, and now they wanted to understand it. They wanted to survive. Lisa Brown worked day and night in the lab she had set up in Houston. Her workspace was crowded with alien fragments, tools, and computers running calculations. The metal from the crashed ships was strange and heavy, yet light at the same time. It had patterns that humans had never seen. Lisa studied it carefully, taking notes and running experiments. "If we can understand this," she said to her assistant, James Harper, "we can make weapons or at least defenses that might work against them." James nodded. He could see the determination in her eyes. Fear had not stopped her. Neither would exhaustion. In orbit, John Carter and the remaining fleet began a different kind of work. The aliens had destroyed much of humanity's space defenses, but the fleet that remained could still be useful. John focused on learning from the enemy. He studied their ships, how they moved, and how they attacked. "They are strong," he said to his officers, "but they are not perfect. Nothing is perfect. We will find their weakness." His officers worked tirelessly, analyzing every detail from the first battles. Every failure was a lesson. Every victory, no matter how small, was a spark of hope. On Earth, communities began to organize themselves. Survivors built shelters from the ruins, digging under collapsed buildings, or setting up camps outside the destroyed cities. People shared food and water, protected each other, and kept their spirits alive. Sarah Mitchell, the nurse from Chicago, led a group of volunteers caring for children who had lost their families. She taught them to stay calm during sirens and to follow safe routes through the city. "We can survive this," she told them softly. "We have to survive." The children believed her because they could see adults fighting to help each other, not just themselves. Michael Harris worked with others to clear streets and rescue trapped people. He had found more survivors in his neighborhood and formed a small team. They carried debris, carried injured people, and guided families to temporary shelters. Every person saved felt like a small victory, a sign that humanity had not been beaten. Even in the face of fear, they were still helping each other. Michael began to understand something important. Survival was more than staying alive. It was also about keeping hope alive. The alien attack had left Earth vulnerable, but it had also given humans an advantage. The aliens expected submission. They thought the first strike would break morale and make humans surrender. They were wrong. Humanity did not surrender. Instead, they began to adapt. Scientists worked on new weapons and shields. Engineers built stronger vehicles and repair systems. Soldiers trained in ways they had never imagined before, learning to fight an enemy with technology far beyond human reach. Amy Clark, a propulsion engineer from Seattle, was one of the first to work on new ships. Using parts of alien technology, she and her team designed faster and more flexible warships. The human ships were still fragile compared to the alien vessels, but they were smarter. They could move in unexpected ways, avoid attacks, and strike in places the aliens did not expect. Amy worked tirelessly, sleeping only when exhaustion made her hands shake. "We have to be faster than them," she told her team. "We have to be smarter. We cannot win with strength, but we can win with brains." They expected humans to fight like they always had, straightforward, rigid, predictable. Instead, humans learned from mistakes, adapted quickly, and acted in ways the aliens could not anticipate. Commander Eric Nolan led a team in space to test new strategies. They flew small, fast ships, striking alien supply lines and retreating before the enemy could react. Each mission was dangerous, but each mission taught the humans something new. Back on Earth, the people were learning too. Lisa Brown shared her research with the military. Her experiments showed that the alien metal reacted strangely to certain frequencies of energy. Small weapons based on this discovery could damage the alien ships. It was not enough to destroy them completely, but it was a start. The military began to test new weapons, hoping to give humanity a chance in the larger war. Michael Harris, Sarah Mitchell, and others formed groups to help civilians survive. They mapped safe routes, shared food, and organized small teams to move quickly through dangerous areas. Ordinary people became heroes without meaning to. A teacher in Paris led children through ruined streets to a safe shelter. A farmer in Kenya organized survivors to share water and food. Everywhere, humans showed courage. They had been struck first, yes, but they were not defeated. The aliens continued to attack, but each strike now met resistance. Human cities were not fully safe, but they were learning to protect themselves. Underground shelters, moving convoys, and small defensive teams slowed the alien advance. Each victory, no matter how small, built confidence. Humans began to see that the aliens were not invincible. They could be studied, learned from, and even defeated. In orbit, John Carter watched as his teams adapted in real time. They analyzed alien ships, studied energy patterns, and developed strategies that used unpredictability as a weapon. He called his officers together. "They are learning too," he said. "They think they are attacking, but we are teaching them nothing. Every step they take, we watch and plan our next move. Humanity will survive this, and one day we will strike back. We must learn, we must fight, we must survive." Her dedication inspired everyone around her. People were not just surviving, they were preparing for war. Michael Harris helped survivors every day, but he also began to train them. He taught them how to move quietly, how to avoid danger, and how to use simple tools for defense. Ordinary people became soldiers in small ways. Each day, they grew stronger, smarter, and braver. Fear was still there, but courage was stronger. The first successful human strike came as a shock. A small team led by Eric Nolan used a modified shuttle to attack a supply ship orbiting Earth. Using human technology combined with alien parts, they managed to destroy it. The aliens did not expect it. They had assumed humans would remain passive, hiding behind destroyed cities. The victory was small in the larger picture, but it was proof humans could fight back. Back on Earth, the news of the small victory spread quickly. Even those in ruined cities heard about it. People whispered of bravery and hope, of scientists discovering new ways to fight, of ordinary citizens defending each other. Hope was growing in hearts around the world. Humanity had been struck first, yes, but it was learning how to survive and, more importantly, how to fight. Amy Clark and her team continued improving the ships. Every design was tested, every failure analyzed. "We are slow, yes," she said, "but we will improve. We will be ready for them. They think we are weak, but we are learning faster than they realize." Engineers across the world worked on similar projects. They repaired broken ships, rebuilt weapons, and developed new strategies. Humanity was changing, becoming stronger and smarter. In small towns and cities, civilians also learned from the attacks. They watched the skies, they listened for sounds of alien ships, and they moved in ways to survive. Ordinary people became quick thinkers, problem solvers, and helpers. Even children learned small ways to stay safe. Humanity was learning from defeat but not giving in. John Carter looked at Earth from orbit and saw the changes. The planet was scarred but alive. Humanity was not hiding, they were adapting, they were learning, and that learning was dangerous for the aliens. For the first time, humans were not just waiting for destruction, they were planning how to fight back. The aliens grew impatient. Their attacks were no longer as effective as before. Supply ships were destroyed, small fleets were ambushed, and human cities were learning to defend themselves. The aliens had assumed victory would come quickly. Instead, they faced a species that refused to give up, that adapted faster than they had imagined, and that was beginning to fight in ways the aliens could not predict. Lisa Brown finally developed a working prototype of a new weapon. It was small, simple, and based on alien materials, but it could damage enemy ships. She tested it carefully and then shared it with military leaders. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We will learn more, we will improve, we will fight back." Fear was still there, but it was no longer paralyzing. Humanity was learning, humanity was surviving, humanity was growing stronger. As weeks passed, small victories accumulated. Human teams in space struck alien supply ships. Engineers improved weapons and ships. Civilians organized defenses in cities and towns. Humanity was no longer passive. They were active, learning, and preparing. By the end of the second part of the war, one thing was clear. Humanity had been struck first, yes, but defeat was not possible. Humans learned from every attack, adapted to every threat, and prepared for the day when they would finally take the fight to the aliens. Earth was no longer helpless. Humanity was no longer afraid. The battle was just beginning, but humanity was ready. The weeks of preparation had paid off. Humanity was no longer waiting. They were ready to strike. In space, small human ships moved quietly, fast, and carefully, using alien technology adapted by human engineers. Commander Eric Nolan led a fleet that was small compared to the alien forces, but clever. They moved in ways the aliens could not predict, striking supply lines and retreating before the enemy could respond. Each success gave the humans more courage. Each failure taught them a lesson. Humanity had learned that victory was not about strength alone, but about intelligence, speed, and determination. On Earth, Lisa Brown and her team worked day and night. The new weapons she had developed were ready for testing on a larger scale. They were small, simple devices that used alien materials to damage the enemy ships. Soldiers were trained to use them carefully, learning how to aim, how to hide, and how to strike quickly. Lisa watched as they practiced. She could see their nervousness, but she also saw their determination. "This is our chance," she told them. "We are learning, we are ready, and soon we will show them what humans can do." John's fleet practiced constantly, moving in patterns designed to confuse the aliens. They attacked, then disappeared, leaving the enemy frustrated and uncertain. Each small success built confidence across the human forces. On the ground, ordinary people were learning too. Michael Harris led groups through dangerous streets, training them to move quietly, avoid alien patrols, and help each other. Communities organized themselves into small defensive teams. Civilians shared food and water, protected the weak, and learned to act quickly in danger. Even children were taught small survival skills. Humanity was no longer helpless. Each human was a part of the fight, and every action mattered. Amy Clark and her engineers had made changes to the human ships. They were faster, lighter, and more flexible. Each new design improved the chances of success in space missions. The humans had learned how to use the enemy's strengths against them. Eric Nolan's fleet was ready. They could attack supply ships, ambush small groups of alien fighters, and return safely to orbit. The aliens had underestimated humanity, and now they were about to learn the cost of that mistake. The first major counterattack took months to plan. Intelligence teams studied alien patterns, recording movements and identifying weak points. Eric Nolan's fleet prepared carefully, carrying the new human-made weapons. Lisa Brown's team loaded the devices, making sure everything was perfect. Every human involved understood the risk. Every human understood the importance. If the mission failed, it would be a heavy loss. If it succeeded, it would be a symbol. Humanity could fight back. The day of the first strike, the human fleet moved in silence. Earth's surface could barely see their approach. The alien ships were concentrated around supply convoys, confident that humans were still weak and passive. They did not expect the small human fleet, armed with strange weapons and clever tactics. Eric Nolan gave the order. The fleet moved like shadows, striking quickly. Alien ships exploded as the new weapons hit their weak points. Small, fast maneuvers kept human ships safe. The strike was not perfect. Some humans were lost, but the damage to the enemy was clear. On Earth, news of the strike spread. People cheered in underground shelters and ruined streets. Ordinary citizens had not fought in the battle, but they felt the victory. It was proof that humanity was learning. It was proof that defeat was not inevitable. Sarah Mitchell helped care for children and families, telling them, "We can fight. We are strong. We are learning." Her words gave hope. Humanity had been struck first, yes, but now they were striking back. Lisa Brown continued to improve the weapons. Each test showed small weaknesses in the alien technology. Every discovery was a step forward. "We are learning faster than they thought we could," she told James Harper. "They expected us to fail. They expected us to give up. But we are learning, and soon we will take the fight to them." The aliens began to change their behavior, moving more cautiously, using more forces to protect supply lines. The humans were winning not by strength, but by intelligence and adaptability. Every step the aliens took, the humans learned more. On Earth, communities continued to grow stronger. Michael Harris organized safe zones, teaching people how to work together to survive alien patrols. People shared supplies, created warning systems, and trained in basic defense. Even in ruined cities, humans were no longer helpless. They were part of the fight. They were learning, growing, and adapting. Weeks passed, and humans launched more strikes in space. Each success gave them confidence. Amy Clark's ships became faster and smarter. Lisa Brown's weapons became more powerful. Eric Nallen's strategies became more precise. Humanity had learned how to fight an enemy that was far stronger in technology. The humans did not rely on brute force. They relied on intelligence, cooperation, and determination. The aliens grew frustrated. Their attacks were no longer as effective. Supply lines were being destroyed, and small fleets were ambushed regularly. They had expected humanity to remain weak and passive. Instead, humans were learning faster than they could adapt. Fear began to spread in the alien ranks. They were strong, yes, but they were not invincible. Back on Earth, Michael Harris helped defend one of the last standing cities from a small alien patrol. Civilians had prepared traps, warning systems, and hiding spots. The patrol was caught off guard. Humans used simple tools and clever tricks to defeat the aliens. It was a small victory, but it was proof that humans could fight even on the ground. Ordinary people were no longer victims. They were warriors in their own way. Lisa Brown and her team had another breakthrough. A modification of their weapon could now damage larger alien ships, not just small patrols. This meant that future space battles could be more decisive. Lisa shared the news with John Carter and Eric Nallen. "This changes everything," she said. "We can now fight on equal terms in some battles. It is not enough to win the war yet, but it is enough to show them we are not weak." Every lesson learned had made them smarter. The strike could fail, but humanity was ready to take the risk. On Earth, people were no longer living in fear alone. They were learning to fight. Communities trained in defense, shared intelligence, and worked together. Michael Harris led his group in drills to move quickly and safely through ruined streets. Sarah Mitchell taught children how to stay calm and follow instructions. Ordinary citizens had become part of the human war effort, not with weapons in all cases, but with courage, strategy, and unity. The day of the strike arrived. Eric Nallen's fleet moved in silence, leaving Earth behind. The alien command station was heavily guarded, but the humans had learned how to move unpredictably, striking quickly and using their new weapons. They attacked in waves, hitting weak points, then retreating. Alien ships exploded as human weapons struck their marks. The battle was fierce, and some human ships were lost, but the strike succeeded. The command station was damaged severely, sending signals of panic through the alien forces. Back on Earth, people celebrated quietly. They could not rejoice openly in every city, but they knew something important had happened. Humanity had struck a serious blow to a far stronger enemy. Humans had adapted, learned, and survived. The first strike by the aliens had been devastating, but humans had turned it into a lesson. They were no longer passive victims. They were fighters. John Carter watched from orbit as reports came in. Human ships had returned from the mission, battered but victorious. Each mission had taught humans something new. Each mission had made them smarter, faster, and stronger. "They thought we would fail," John said to his officers. "They thought we would give up, but we are learning and learning faster than they can adapt. Humanity is no longer weak. Humanity is dangerous." "We are preparing for the next step," Lisa said. "We have learned from their strengths and we will use them against them. Humanity will not only survive, we will win." Fear had not disappeared, but it no longer controlled them. Courage had grown stronger. Humanity was no longer passive. Amy Clark's team developed even faster ships, combining human ingenuity and alien technology. Eric Nallen's fleet was ready for more complex strikes. Humans were no longer simply defending. They were learning to attack, to control, and to turn the enemy's power against them. The war was far from over, but humanity was ready. The aliens realized that humanity was no longer weak. Their strategy of crushing humans quickly had failed. Humans had learned, adapted, and grown stronger in every way. Fear began to creep into their ranks. The enemy had technology, yes, but humans had determination, creativity, and adaptability, things the aliens had underestimated. By the end of this phase of the war, humanity had made its presence felt. They had learned from defeat, struck back with intelligence, and shown that they could fight even against overwhelming odds. Earth was scarred and humans had lost much, but they had gained something far more important: the knowledge that they could fight back, that they could win battles, and that they could survive. The turning point was clear. Humanity had been struck first, yes, but now they were no longer afraid. They had learned, adapted, and grown stronger. The aliens had underestimated them, and it was a mistake they would pay for. Humanity's fight was no longer about survival alone. It was about taking the battle to the enemy and ensuring that Earth would never be conquered. Humanity had learned much from the first strikes and the long struggle that followed. They were faster, smarter, and more united than ever before. The cities that had survived were now fortified, the fleets in orbit were faster and stronger, and the new weapons created by Lisa Brown and her team were ready for the largest battle yet. Earth had been struck first, but humans would not stop until the threat was gone completely. John Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship. The fleet was assembled, dozens of ships now ready to strike deep into the alien forces. Each ship carried human-made weapons designed to target alien weaknesses. Every officer knew the risks, but none hesitated. Humanity was tired but determined. John looked at his crew. "We have come too far to stop now," he said. "This is our chance to end it. We fight not only for survival, but for the future of every human on this planet. Let's show them who we are." They did not understand that humans had become unpredictable, clever, and united. Every mistake the aliens had made before had taught humans how to fight, and this time, the humans were ready for everything. On Earth, Michael Harris helped organize the final evacuation of civilians in areas that could still be targeted. Every person who could not fight needed protection. Children, the elderly, and families moved to underground shelters or safe zones. Michael trained volunteers to guide them through the ruins, teaching them how to move quickly and quietly. Humanity's courage extended beyond the battlefield. Every civilian played a role in survival. Lisa Brown's team was on high alert. The weapons were tested again, loaded onto human ships and double-checked for accuracy. Every device mattered. James Harper, her assistant, helped her, moving with quiet precision. "This is it," Lisa said. "Everything we have worked for comes down to this. Every lesson, every failure, every small victory, it all leads here. Humanity will win this fight." "They think they are invincible," she said, "but they are not ready for us." Eric Nallen led the fleet carefully, avoiding direct confrontation until they were in position. Each strike was planned precisely. Every ship moved as part of a larger strategy. The first wave hit the supply lines again, as humans had done before. Alien ships were destroyed quickly and silently. Humans retreated before the enemy could respond fully. Then, as predicted, the aliens sent reinforcements to protect their command station. Eric Nallen's fleet was ready. They attacked from multiple directions, using speed and unpredictability to confuse the enemy. Human weapons struck at the alien ships' weak points, causing explosions and chaos. John Carter coordinated attacks from orbit, watching every move. Communication was constant. Every ship knew its role. Every action had a purpose. Humans had learned how to fight an enemy that had once seemed unbeatable. The aliens could no longer rely on technology alone. Humans had learned to use intelligence, creativity, and teamwork as weapons. On Earth, Sarah Mitchell helped guide civilians through the chaos of the attacks. Shelters were crowded, but people were safe. Children listened carefully to instructions, moving quickly and quietly. Every person who survived meant more hope. Humanity's fight was not only in space, it was on the ground in the hearts of every human who refused to give up. The battle raged for hours. Alien ships fought hard, but the humans were smarter and faster. They used small, unexpected attacks to destroy larger ships. The alien command station was hit repeatedly. Shields weakened. Explosions shook the structure. John Carter's eyes stayed focused on the screens, monitoring every signal. "We are close," he said. "Keep going, we do not stop now." Every maneuver counted. They knew that the final strike would require courage, precision, and sacrifice. Some ships were lost, but each loss taught them more about the enemy. Humanity was learning faster than the aliens could react. Lisa Brown and her team continued to monitor the weapons. Adjustments were made mid-battle. Energy flows were changed. Targets were recalculated. Every improvement increased the chances of success. James Harper moved beside her, carrying new energy cells and equipment. "We are ready," he said. Lisa nodded. "Now we finish this. Humanity deserves nothing less." People followed his instructions carefully, moving to safe zones and helping each other. Humans had learned to survive in fear, and now they were learning to survive in war. Courage was everywhere, in soldiers, in engineers, in civilians, in children. Humanity was united. The final phase of the attack began. Eric Nolan ordered the fleet to focus all firepower on the command station. Human weapons struck the weakest points. Shields failed and explosions tore through the structure. Alien ships attempted to defend it, but humans struck in unexpected ways. Ships moved from above and below, left and right, hitting from angles the aliens had never considered. Chaos spread in the enemy ranks. John Carter watched carefully. Every strike, every maneuver, every explosion was calculated. Humans had learned from every previous attack. Every lesson was applied now. They were not merely defending, they were taking the fight to the enemy's heart. Humanity would not stop until the alien command structure was destroyed completely. Lisa Brown gave final adjustments to the weapons. They were now operating at full power. "This is it," she whispered. "The moment we have trained for. Every human alive depends on this strike. We cannot fail." James Harper nodded, moving quickly to deliver energy cells to the ships. Humans were ready. Every human was ready. The alien command station began to collapse. Explosions rocked it repeatedly. Smaller alien ships tried to intervene, but human attacks were too fast, too smart, too unpredictable. Eric Nolan's fleet moved in and out, striking in waves. Every attack weakened the station more. Humanity's strategy of learning from defeat, adapting quickly, and striking cleverly had worked. The aliens could not keep up. Back on Earth, people watched the skies. Explosions lit the heavens. Some were terrified, but most were hopeful. Humanity had survived much worse. They had faced a powerful enemy and learned from every strike. This was the moment they had been preparing for. They could feel the victory in the air. Michael Harris helped guide survivors to the safest areas. The streets were dangerous, but people moved with purpose. Children followed directions carefully, listening to adults who had learned the ways of survival. Ordinary people had become part of the human army, not with weapons alone, but with courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Humanity was united in every way possible. The final explosion came as the alien command station broke apart completely. The aliens' organized fleets fell into chaos. Without the command structure, coordination collapsed. Human ships continued to attack, but the main resistance was gone. Eric Nolan's fleet celebrated quietly. They had achieved something incredible. Humanity had struck first, learned from defeat, and now they had won the decisive battle. John Carter allowed himself a moment to breathe. He looked at the planet below, still scarred but alive. "We have done it," he said softly. "Earth is safe, humanity is alive, and we will ensure it stays that way." His officers nodded, sharing a sense of quiet pride. They had seen defeat, learned from it, and turned it into victory. On Earth, Sarah Mitchell and Michael Harris helped bring people out of shelters. The streets were dangerous, but the aliens were retreating. The battle was not over everywhere, but the final blow had been dealt. Humans were alive, strong, and united. Children laughed quietly in the shelters, and adults smiled in relief. Humanity had endured the worst, learned, adapted, and now survived fully. Lisa Brown and James Harper began planning the next steps. Humanity had won the decisive battle, but they could not be careless. The aliens might return, and humans had to be ready. Plans for rebuilding cities, strengthening defenses, and improving technology were already underway. They had learned too much to let fear control them again. Michael Harris looked at the horizon. Cities were ruined, skies were scorched, but people were alive. Humanity had survived the first strike, learned from it, and struck back to ensure complete defeat of the enemy. He thought about the children he had helped guide, the families he had saved, and the bravery of ordinary humans everywhere. Fear had been strong, but courage had been stronger. Humanity had won because it had never given up. In orbit, John Carter watched the last of the alien ships retreat into the darkness. Human ships had survived, and their tactics had worked. Humanity had struck back with intelligence, teamwork, and courage. The first attack had been terrible, but it had not broken them. Humans had learned, adapted, and now ensured that the alien threat was defeated completely. Amy Clark and her engineers began repairing and upgrading the fleet for the future. Humans had learned that technology alone could not guarantee victory. Intelligence, creativity, and courage were just as important. They had faced a superior enemy and survived. They had turned defeat into the tools of victory. Lisa Brown looked at the sky, thinking of the future. Humans had survived, but they would not forget. They would remember the lessons learned, the sacrifices made, and the courage shown. Humanity would rebuild, grow stronger, and be ready for anything. The aliens had underestimated humans, and they had paid the price. Michael Harris walked through the ruined streets with his sister, Anna, holding her hand. People smiled quietly at each other. Children ran and played where it was safe. Humanity had survived the first strike, adapted, learned, and ensured the complete defeat of their enemy. The planet was scarred, but humans were alive. The war had tested humanity in every way. They had faced destruction, fear, and loss, but they had also learned, adapted, and grown stronger. Every human had played a part, scientists, soldiers, engineers, and civilians alike. Humanity had faced the impossible and turned it into a victory. Earth was safe for now. Humans had struck first, been almost defeated, and yet had survived and won. They had learned that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the greatest of enemies. Humanity had endured. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won. The stars above looked different now, not as a threat, but as a challenge. Humans would rebuild, strengthen, and prepare for the future. Earth had been struck first, but humanity had ensured the complete defeat of the enemy. And humanity would never forget the lessons learned in fire, blood, and courage. The war was over, but humanity had changed forever. They had faced the impossible, survived, and won. They had been struck first, but they had endured, and now they stood stronger than ever before.